Hi everyone, welcome back to Bible in a Year. My name is Natalie and today we are on day 359. I would like to wish everybody the most beautiful, wonderful Christmas today. I hope that you are joined with your families and good foods and good friends. And if you find yourself just having a quiet day to yourself, know that you're not alone, that you are the lucky one, believe it or not, because you don't have the distractions of everything that comes with this holiday. You are able to sit with Jesus. You are able to sit in the quietness of his peace and his love. So Merry Christmas to everybody out there. Thank you for coming by the channel. Where do you get this kind of time? I don't know. But we are on day 359, and we're going to be reading 2 Chronicles chapter 30, Zechariah chapter 12, and then we will close out this day with John chapter 18, verses 25 through 40. So let's get started. 2 Chronicles chapter 30. Hezekiah sent to all Israel and Judah, and wrote letters also to Ephraim and Manasseh, that they should come to Yahweh's house at Jerusalem to keep the Passover to Yahweh, the God of Israel. For the king had taken counsel with his princes and all the assembly in Jerusalem to keep the Passover in the 2nd month. For they could not keep it at that time, because the priests had not sanctified themselves in sufficient number, and the people had not gathered themselves together to Jerusalem. The thing was right in the eyes of the king and all of the assembly. So they established a decree to make proclamation throughout all Israel, from Beersheba even to Dan, that they should come to keep the Passover to Yahweh, the God of Israel, at Jerusalem, for they had not kept it in great numbers in the way it is written. So the couriers went with the letters from the king and his princes throughout all Israel and Judah, according to the commandment of the king, saying, You children of Israel, turn again to Yahweh, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, that he may return to the remnant of you that have escaped out of the land of the kings of Assyria. Don't be like your fathers, and like your brothers who trespassed against Yahweh, the God of their fathers, so that he gave them up to desolation, as you see. Now don't be stiff-necked, as your fathers were, but yield yourself to Yahweh, and enter into his sanctuary, which he has sanctified forever, and serve Yahweh your God, that his fierce anger may turn away from you. For if you turn again to Yahweh, your brothers and your children will find compassion with those who led them captive, and will come again into this land, because Yahweh your God is gracious and merciful, and will not turn away his face from you, if you will return to him. So the couriers passed from city to city through the country of Ephraim and Manasseh, even to Zebulun. But people ridiculed them and mocked them. Nevertheless, some men of Asher, Manasseh, and Zebulun humbled themselves and came to Jerusalem. Also, the hand of God came on Judah to give them one heart to do the commandment of the king and of the princes by Yahweh's word. Many people assembled at Jerusalem to keep the feast of unleavened bread in the 2nd month, a very great assembly. They arose and took away the altars that were in Jerusalem, and they took away all the altars for incense and threw them into the brook Kidron. Then they killed the Passover on the 14th day of the 2nd month. The priests and the Levites were ashamed and sanctified themselves and brought burnt offerings into Yahweh's house. They stood in their place after their order, according to the law of Moses, the man of God. The priests sprinkled the blood, which they received of the hand of the Levites. For there were many in the assembly who had not sanctified themselves, Therefore the Levites were in charge of killing the Passovers for everyone who was not clean, to sanctify them to Yahweh. For a multitude of the people, even many of Ephraim, Manasseh, Issachar, and Zebulun, had not cleansed themselves. Yet they ate the Passover other than the way it is written. For Hezekiah had prayed for them, saying, May the good Yahweh pardon everyone who sets his heart to seek God. Yahweh, the God of his fathers, even if they aren't clean according to the purification of the sanctuary. Yahweh listened to Hezekiah and healed the people. The children of Israel who were present at Jerusalem kept the feast of unleavened bread 7 days with great gladness. The Levites and the priests praised Yahweh day by day, singing with loud instruments to Yahweh. Hezekiah spoke encouragingly to all the Levites who had good understanding in the service of Yahweh. So they ate throughout the feast for the 7 days, offering sacrifices of peace offerings and making confession to Yahweh, the God of their fathers. The whole assembly took counsel to keep another 7 days, and they kept another 7 days with gladness. For Hezekiah, king of Judah, gave to the assembly for offerings 1,000 bulls and 7,000 sheep, and the princes gave to the assembly 1,000 bulls and 10,000 sheep, and a great number of priests sanctified themselves. All the assembly of Judah, with the priests and the Levites, and all the assembly who came out of Israel, and the foreigners who came out of the land of Israel, and who lived in Judah, rejoiced. So there was great joy in Jerusalem. For since the time of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel, there was nothing like this in Jerusalem. Then the Levitical priests arose and blessed the people. Their voice was heard, and their prayer came up to his holy habitation, even to heaven. Oh, I want to be there. All right, Zechariah chapter 12. A revelation of Yahweh's word concerning Israel. Yahweh, who stretches out the heavens and lays the foundation of the earth, and forms the spirit of man within him, says, Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of reeling to all these surrounding peoples, and it will also be on Judah in the siege against Jerusalem. It will happen in that day that I will make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all the people. All who burden themselves with it will be severely wounded, and all the nations of the earth will be gathered together against it. In that day, says Yahweh, I will strike every horse with terror, and his rider with madness. I will open my eyes on the house of Judah, and will strike every horse of the peoples with blindness. The chieftains of Judah will say in their heart, The inhabitations of Jerusalem are my strength, in Yahweh of armies their God. In that day, I will make the chieftains of Judah like a pan of fire among wood, and like a flaming torch among sheaves. They will devour all the surrounding peoples on the right hand and on the left, and Jerusalem will yet again dwell in their own place, even in Jerusalem. Yahweh also will save the tents of Judah first, that the glory of David's house and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem not be magnified above Judah. In that day, Yahweh will defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem. He who is feeble among them at that day will be like David, and David's house will be like God, that Yahweh's angel is before them. It will happen in that day that I will seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem. I will pour on David's house and on the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace, and of supplication. They will look to me, whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn for him as one mourns for his only son, and will grieve bitterly for him as one grieves for his firstborn. In that day there will be a great mourning in Jerusalem, like the mourning of Hadad-rimmon in the valley of Megiddo. The land will mourn, every family apart. The family of David's house apart, and their wives apart. The family of the house of Nathan apart, and their wives apart. The family of the house of Levi apart, and their wives apart. The family of the Shimeites apart, and their wives apart. All the families who remain, every family apart, and their wives apart. I apologize. Sometimes I get distracted by the notes down here. The notes in this Bible are not as rich as in my own personal Bible. My own personal Bible is a study Bible, and they really get into different interpretations of Hebrew and Greek, and kind of take away the mysteries of the prophecies. So sometimes I try and look down here just to see if I can share it with you, because this Bible is public domain and I can share it on YouTube. However, I cannot share my personal Bible on YouTube because there's a copyright. Who does that with the Word of God? Don't get me started. All right, John chapter 18, verses 25 through 40. Okay, now Simon Peter was standing and warming himself, and they said therefore to him, "You aren't also one of his disciples, are you?" And for the second time he denied it and said, "I am not." One of the servants of the high priest, being a relative of him whose ear Peter had cut off, said, "Didn't I see you in the garden with him?" Peter therefore denied it again, and immediately the rooster crowed. They led Jesus, therefore, from Caiaphas into the praetorium. It was early, and then they themselves didn't enter into the praetorium, that they may not be defiled, but might eat the Passover. Pilate therefore went out to them and said, "What accusations do you bring against this man?" And they answered him, "If this man weren't an evildoer, we wouldn't have delivered him up to you." And Pilate therefore said to them, "Take him yourselves and judge him according to your law." Therefore the Jews said to him, "It is illegal for us to put anyone to death, that the word of Jesus might be fulfilled, which he spoke, signifying by what kind of death he should die." Pilate therefore entered again into the praetorium, called Jesus, and said to him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answered him, "Do you say this by yourself, or did others tell you about me?" And Pilate answered, "I'm not a Jew, am I? Your own nation and the chief priests delivered you to me. What have you done?" Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, then my servants would fight, that I wouldn't be delivered to the Jews. But now my kingdom is not from here." And Pilate therefore said to him, "Are you a king then?" And Jesus answered, "You say that I am a king. For this reason I have been born, and for this reason I have come into the world, that I should testify to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice." And Pilate said to him, "What is truth?" When he had said this, he went out again to the Jews and said to them, I find no basis for a charge against him, but you have a custom that I should release someone to you at the Passover. Therefore, do you want me to release to you the King of the Jews? And they all shouted again, saying, Not this man, but Barabbas. Now Barabbas was a robber. I really love that conversation between Jesus and Pilate, because Pilate, he doesn't really sound like a religious man. He's just doing his job, and he's trying to figure out, this issue with the religious people out there, with the church and the Son of God. I don't think he was a religious man. He doesn't want anything to do with it. His thing is taxes, roads, infrastructure, things like that. And so how he has just this minute with Jesus, I find so endearing, because isn't that how it all begins with all of us, even in current days? It's just that minute with Jesus where we're trying to figure it out. We're not religious people, but we're just trying to figure it out. I don't know. I really enjoy it. I am so thankful that you stopped in today. If you are stopping in and catching up after your Christmas holidays, I hope that you had a wonderful time. Please come back for tomorrow for day 360. Are we really down to the last week? Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. Come back for tomorrow, which will be day 360. Have a fantastic day today, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.